The 8 people who died in a stampede at the Olympic Youth Development Center, OIDC in Lusaka, have been put to rest. And in sports news this evening, the junior Polo boys will face Senegal in the final of the Under-20 AFCON. On sign language, we have Obed Mambwe. The British government is happy that Zambia's political environment is supporting the development of the private sector. British Minister for International Development James Watson said this when he held a closed-door meeting with President Edgar Lungu at State House today. President Lungu's Special Assistant for Press and Public Relations, Amos Chanda, told journalists at State House that the British minister is also happy that the courts of law are independent when dealing with issues to do with companies. Mr. Chanda was speaking when he addressed the media immediately after the meeting. Mr. Chanda stated that during the meeting, Mr. Watson, who is in the country on official visit, explained that his country will continue working with the Zambian government to improve the lives of local people. He said the British minister has further said the oil explorations taking place in northern province by Tullow Oil Company is the highlight of the relations between Zambia and Britain. And Mr. Watson has since committed his government's support to Zambia as it engages the International Monetary Fund, IMF, over the country's economic recovery program.
Most of the conversations were based on the promotion of British interests, business interests in Zambia. But of course that issues of governance, political stability and peace and stability of the country was raised by the British minister, and he was happy to report that the British government is extremely pleased that the political environment in Zambia supports private sector investment, which is why there is an increase in the establishment of British companies in Zambia. And he also praised the court system, that whenever there are commercial disputes, the courts are independent enough to adjudicate and see that matters are amicably settled. Reference was made to the recent court case between ZCCMIH and KCM, and it takes note that when decisions are taken by the courts free of interference with the court, with the political hand, they are sufficiently assured that the conditions exist for private sector engagement.
The government is concerned that trade unions are ineffective and failing to adequately represent the interests of workers. Minister of Labour Joyce Simukoko says she will meet trade unions and Zambia Federation of Employers next week to discuss the matter. Speaking to journalists after presenting her ministerial quarterly briefing to President Edgar Lungu at State House today, Mrs. Simukoko also said government will soon introduce a sector minimum wage with the agriculture and telecommunications sectors. Michael Kaumba has the rest of the story.
Ministries have continued to present their quarterly briefings to President Edgar Lungu at State House. Today saw 3 ministers present their briefings to the head of state, starting with the Minister of Labour, Joyce Simukoko. Mrs. Simukoko shared a briefing with members of the press, saying the weak state of labour unions in the country is a source of concern.
Issues of trade unionism, most Zambians, or should I say generally, people are feeling strongly that the trade unions are weak and workers are having a raw deal, they are not being protected. So we discussed that issue as well. I will soon be holding a meeting with the trade unions and the employers next week at tripartite level, just to come out with some of the challenges they may be facing and possible solutions. I talked about organizing the informal sector. We need to do that because people who have got skills need to be developed. The skills need to be developed.
Next to present the quarterly briefing was Minister of Information, Kampamba Mlenga, who reviewed a recovery plan for public media institutions.
And we also talked about the statutory bodies under our ministry, the IBA, ZNBC, the Daily Mail, and the Times of Zambia. Of course, on the recovery plans, we know, we've heard that they've had issues, and of course we've concluded on the way forward. in regards to the recovery plan. And we also talked about ZNBC, which is a department, the Information and News Department under our ministry.
The last to present the briefing was Central Province Minister Sidney Mshanga and his team, which included Permanent Secretary Chanda Kabwe. Mr. Mshanga gave an update on the Zambia-China Mulungushi textiles, which has been taken over by Japanese investors.
We talked about the speed resuscitation of Zambia-China Mulungushi textiles, especially that an investor has been found from Japan. What we want to see, and we have agreed with the President, what we want to see as provincial administration, provincial leadership, is to see to it that the works are speeded up and we stick to the time frame that has been provided of 18 to 24 months, so that the new equipment is installed there, operations start, our young people can benefit from the creation of employment.
Michael Kaumba, ZNBC News, State House, Lusaka.
Vice President Inonge has assured the youth in the country that government will continue empowering them with skills for the well-being of society. Mrs. Wina was speaking this morning at the official opening of the two-day Entrepreneurs and Innovation Exhibition and the National Youth Forum, which is part of the preparations for Youth Day celebrations, which falls on Sunday, March 12th. Patricia Banda has more.
Entrepreneurs and Innovators Exhibition and National Youth Forum has opened in Lusaka. The two events are part of the commemoration of the 2017 National Youth Week under the theme Unity and Innovation for a Smart Zambia. The forum is expected to provide a platform for government and partners to engage in the view of the 2015 National Youth Policy. Vice President Inonge Wina has visited some stands to appreciate some of the innovations on display.
I am convinced that the innovations being exhibited by our young people will be a tangible source of inspiration, not only to their fellow youth, but also to other citizens interested in moving this country forward.
Some cooperating partners in attendance have called for concerted efforts to challenges facing youths.
And we will be looking to engage the Youth Partnership Platform as a key enabler to encourage and foster youth participation in the 7th National Development Plan all across the country, in all districts, in all provinces, in all areas of interest.
Moses Mawere is Minister in charge of youth.
The forum has attracted 200 participants from all walks of life and from all the 10 provinces of Zambia. At the end of the forum, Your Honor, the youth are expected to come up with a communique on forum actions and commitments by all stakeholders in the implementation of important national policies.
Vice President Inonge Wina also says government will continue to support youth in the country.
In this regard, government will continue equipping the youth with appropriate professional, life, vocational, and entrepreneurial skills for their improved well-being.
First ever female fighter, Second Lieutenant Tokozile Mwamba, gave a vote of thanks.
This year, it's even more unique because we are now invited back to the Youth Days, which falls on Sunday, 12 March 2017. But it is a combination of the 2017 Young and Innovators Exhibition.
Patricia Banda, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
In other news this morning, Zambia is in the process of receiving about $420 million from the American government under the President's Emergency Fund for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR. Minister of Health Charles Lufia says the country has secured preliminary approval from PEPFAR management. He says government has continued to increase funding towards the health sector in order to fight diseases such as HIV and AIDS. Dr. Chilufya says Zambia can eliminate HIV before 2030 if it implements various strategies effectively. He said this during a joint media briefing with American Ambassador to Zambia, Eric Schultz, held at Ingombe Clinic in Lusaka. And Mr. Schultz has urged government to continue investing in education and the health of citizens.
Just from having a meeting in Washington where we were concluding the country operational plan for Zambia. First of all, I must appreciate the Zambia team, all the stakeholders that were in the country team that did a wonderful job in ensuring that our document was put together, and congratulations to you all. Getting approval of the CE 2017, the endorsement of Ambassador Beggs is a milestone, and it certainly places us firmly on to access our $420 million to escalate the fight against HIV for our COP 2017-2018. So today, I must be proud to announce that we have our preliminary approval for our country operation plan and a potential recipient of $420 million for interventions against HIV.
We've made a lot of progress along those metrics in the years that the United States government and the Zambian government have been working together on this program. And that's actually one of the things I really want to stress. It's one of the things that we stressed in Washington. It's one of the reasons why I went and why the minister went as well, to really drive home the fact that this is a partnership. This is the U.S. government, the American people, the Zambian government and the Zambian people working together, cooperating together to try to end the AIDS epidemic or bring it under control, at least in Zambia.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Harry Kalava says government is committed to the fight against corruption as illustrated by the stern manner that government has handled recent cases. Mr. Kalava says government will continue to stand firm against all practices of corruption. He further says government will continue to build on good governance and consolidation of democracy within its framework. The minister was speaking when he opened the Zambia-European Union political dialogue in Chilanga. And head of European Union delegation to Zambia, Alessandro Marian, said the EU will continue to partner with government to create jobs, growth and investments.
Allow me to reaffirm the Zambian government's commitment to promoting and upholding the fundamental principles upon which this dialogue exists, namely the eradication of extreme poverty in Zambia, the preservation of the environment, access to quality education, and the promotion of human rights and good governance, to mention but a few. Allow me also, on behalf of the people of the Republic of Zambia, to thank the European Union for the continued support rendered to our country in the economic and social sectors that are critical to the development of Zambia.
Our two continents will get together for the 5th Africa-European Union Summit at the end of November in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Africa is a continent of opportunities with a huge potential for trade, innovation and investments. Both Africa and the European Union have a strong direct interest to generate sustainable, inclusive development and jobs on both continents. I wish to recall that it is in this framework that the European Union has recently approved the European External Investment Plan, which aims at leveraging more than 44 billion euros for investments in Africa and in the neighborhood of the European Union.
Minister of Mines Christopher Yaloma says government has made progress in ensuring that mining companies start re-employing retrenched workers now that the price of copper on the international market has improved. Mr. Yaloma said this when he officially opened the National Union of Miners and Allied Workers NUMAO 4th Quadrennial Conference in Livingstone. Angela Limwanya has the rest of the story.
It is an exciting moment for these men and women in the mining sector to receive news that some of their colleagues will be re-employed now that the mining industry is performing well. Mines Minister Christopher Yaloma assured the National Union of Miners and Allied Workers NUMAO at their 4th Quadrennial Conference in Livingstone that some of the retrenched workers will be re-employed.
Now, that has happened, and what we are saying is the mining industry must start now re-employing back the people because the coal price is around close to 6,000. So we are told them they must come back, bring the workers back in. This week coming, I've got a meeting with the mining houses, and they must give me now numbers every week how many people they will be bringing back onto the employment line. Because now it's better. Because that 6,000 you are saying, when they came into, when we privatized, in that business case, they pushed it below 3,000, between 2,500 and 3,000. Yes.
Numau President James Chancellor has stressed the need to have the Zambian workforce in the mining sector to be motivated.
As we stand today, the mining industry has been considered to be a dumping place for expatriate labor. An expatriate is a person who comes with a rare skill in a particular mission. And because he comes with a rare skill, everyone must learn from him. And after a certain period, after imparting that knowledge, he must get back to his country because...
The Confederation of Trade Union in Zambia, COTU's president, Joe Kamutuma, says there is need to create an enabling environment for the mining sector to continue thriving.
Abolish corruption. It tends to make people and investors lose confidence in a system. It makes the vulnerable more vulnerable, and therefore, Honorable Minister, Guest of Honor, sir, we are saying we are fighting against the corruption.
The 2 days conference is being held under the theme, promoting initiative that will grow the union through effective representation of workers through dialogue by engaging government and other key stakeholders with the ultimate goal of shaping the economy of Zambia and making Numau a refuge for workers in the mining sector. Angela Limwanya, ZNBC News in Livingstone.
On a sad note, the 8 people who died in a stampede at the Olympic Youth Development Center, OIDC in Lusaka, have been put to rest at a mass burial at Lusaka's Chingwere Cemetery. And President Edgar Lungu says he's saddened by the incident and has released Inspector General Kakoma Kanganja to institute investigations into the matter and avail a report to him. Details in this report.
It's a heartbreaking moment as the remains of the 8 stampede victims were being disembarked from the hearses to their final resting place. Thousands of Zambians gathered at Chingwere Cemetery to pay their last respect to their beloved ones. There was commotion as people from all walks of life pushed their way through to pay their last respects. Several government officials witnessed the burial of the 8 stampede victims. Among the government officials present was Lusaka Province Minister Jafen Mwakalombe, who represented President Edgar Lungu. Others are National Guidance and Religious Affairs Minister Godfrida Sumaili and Lusaka District Commissioner Captain Davis Mlenga. In a speech delivered on his behalf by Mr. Mwakalombe during the burial, President Lungu has said he's moved with the death of the 8 people in the stampede.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, is moved by the death of the 8 people. These are citizens that to him he values so much, because these are the people who are supposed to be contributing to our economy. And when you look at this, we have seen that there's even a death of a child, and the President is not happy with that. And you may wish to note that the IG, the Inspector General of Police, has equally been instructed to establish the cause of the death. And the minister here, the Minister of Religious, has since suspended the church's activities in the country pending the verification and the results that are going to come from the investigation that is taking place by the office of the IG. So we as government wish to bring it clearly and appeal to the Zambian citizen. Zambian citizen means people from other political parties, all of us as a citizen, that when we are heat of this a tragedy of this nature, we should not trivialize or bring politics in it. As you have heard this morning, that one of the family members has said they are not starving.
Meanwhile, Reverend Smiley has said the death of the 8 people is heartbreaking, as it could have been avoided. She was also speaking during the burial of the stampede victims.
First and foremost, I want to say that as a nation, this death has been very, very painful. And it has been painful because it should have been avoided. If the church in question had followed our instructions, which were very, very clear, this thing should not have happened. We could have guided the church how it was going to do the work, if at all it was going to meet the requirements, the regulatory requirements that are in place. Let me also say this to our local churches in Zambia. We need discernment in the church. Our leaders need to have discernment. If they are spiritual leaders, they should be able to discern what kind of spirit a church which comes from outside is bringing. Yes. And before they begin working with a foreign church, they should make sure that this church has been cleared.
One can only hope that the death of the 8 people and the stampede will serve as a warning for the need to enhance security and safety during public events. TV2 News in Lusaka.
Let's take our first set of commercials. When we do return, stay with us. General Education Permanent Secretary Henry Tukombe says the process of teacher registration by the Teaching Council of Zambia is impressive. Coming up shortly. General Education Permanent Secretary Henry Tukombe says the process of teacher registration by the Teaching Council of Zambia, TCZ, is impressive. Mr. Tukombe says the council must be supported by all stakeholders because it is bringing about professionalism and productivity to the education sector. The Permanent Secretary was speaking when he toured the TCZ data center in Lusaka. And Teaching Council of Zambia Registrar Ebi Muranga says the teacher registration is on course while the register is being developed. Dr. Muranga says the student registration has advanced and 11,347 students have been registered. He says over 130,000 applications from teachers have been received and 68,000 applications have been entered after verification. Dr. Muranga also informed the Permanent Secretary that the registration process is expected to be concluded by the end of April this year, and thereafter the issuance of teachers' practicing certificates will start. And that's the education segment we had for you this evening. And now in sports news, Zambia will meet Senegal in the final of the 2017 Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. Joseph Karoto's men secured a date with the host after defeating fellow West Africans Guinea 1-0 at a Renfield Levi Mwanawasa Stadium in Ndola. Aliou Badji's 13th minute goal proved to be the difference in a match watched by an improved crowd which sided most Senegal. Senegal would have doubled the lead at half-time had it not been for Ibrahim Nian's poorly taken penalty, which was set by Guinea goalkeeper Musa Kamara. It will be a second successive final for the Young Lions of Teranga, having achieved the same feat in 2015 as hosts when they lost 1-0 in Nigeria. In sharp contrast, it will be the young Chipolopolo's first AFCON final, with third, their only best finish in 1991, 1999 and 2007. In the third and fourth playoff, South Africa will play Guinea in a match that will kick off at 14 hours. In a related development, the Federation of African Football CAF has asked the local organizing committee of 2017 Under-20 Africa Cup to explain what caused the discharge of tear gas canisters at National Hero Stadium during Zambia versus South Africa semi-final match last evening. Local organizing committee in charge of security Adrian Kashala has told ZNBC News that his committee will meet the CAF officials to explain what happened. Police last evening discharged tear gas canisters at Hero Stadium during the semi-final match between Zambia and South Africa to disperse unruly football fans who attempted to force their way into the stadium. Meanwhile, Kashala says the committee has requested police to increase the number of officers at the stadium from 450 to over 600. And Zambia Police Service spokesperson Esther Katongo says police has increased manpower to provide security at this Sunday's 2017 Under-20 Africa Cup final to be held at the National Hero Stadium in Lusaka. Katongo says police will also not allow anyone without tickets near the stadium. And Minister of Home Affairs Stephen Kampiongo says his ministry has requested the Police Inspector General to investigate last night's incidents outside the National Hero Stadium. Mr. Kampiongo says that what transpired is unfortunate and the police will intensify security during the final AFCON game. And Mr. Kampiongo says he will present a detailed report shortly after the investigation is done. The minister has further urged football fans to take advantage of government's initiative to show the game on the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, ZNBC TV1.
We have requested the Inspector of Police to exactly probe the incidents which occurred outside the stadium. But I want to seize this opportunity to appeal to our soccer fans. I know that it's an exciting time. Their team has done so well, and everybody wants to be part of the success our boys are recording. But I think we need to observe security at all times. And for those that I am also speaking for the upcoming final, because I think we are going to intensify security beyond what we have been doing. And I want to commend the police for the work they've done. Managing events like the AFCON tournament, which draw huge numbers, is a challenge. And sometimes we can have challenges along the way. So we are appealing to our soccer fans. The government has made it easier for them to even follow the games through the ZNBC, their national broadcaster.
Congratulations to Senegal and Zambia for making it to the finals of the AFCON Under-20. Let's leave you with the headlines. The British government is happy that Zambia's political environment is supporting the development of the private sector. Zambia is in the process of receiving about $450 million from the American government under the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. The 8 people who died in a stampede at the Olympic Youth Development Center in Lusaka have been put to rest. Ending with some football headline, the junior polo boys will face Senegal in the final of the Under-20 AFCON. And that's about it for this hour's news. Stick around for the news at 22 hours. My name is Sawan Machishi, together with Orbit Mambo and the entire team. Be with us at 22.